Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and I was always told how to voice radio, so today I'm going to be showing you the first Prism Star stadium we have ever had in the Pokemon trading card game. Now, be very careful looking this one up in other places. There have been multiple incorrect translations floating around. The lovely David Hochmann messaged me today saying, Ross, be careful with this stadium. There's been a few wrong translations going around, including my own, but I've corrected it now. But the lovely Antoine Boulay also tweeted it at me with a translation, being really specific about exactly what it does. And given that Antoine's translation and David's translation now sync up perfectly, I think it's fair to assume that we do now have the correct translation, and we can get on with the lovely job of seeing exactly what it does. Now, it is a Prism Star card, which means that you can only have one of it in your deck, though you can have as many different Prism Star cards as you like. And when it gets discarded, it goes straight to the lost zone. And we heard rumours about this stadium. We heard rumours there was going to be a Prism Star stadium that reduced energy costs, and I suggested it was probably going to be just for Lightning, and I suggested it was probably going to be a Prism Star card. Again, not some genius suggestion. It's in the same set where we're getting Zero Aura GX. And ladies and gentlemen, that's exactly what it does. Both players' Lightning Pokemon's attacks cost one less Lightning energy. Very nice. While this stadium is in play, ignore all effects of both players' item and supporter cards on this stadium. Now, as initially translated, some people thought it was ignore all effects of both players' item and supporter cards while this stadium is in play, which means it would be both stadium lock and supporter lock, which means it would stop people playing draw supporters like Cynthia, but also stuff like Guzma and Ace Roller, while at the same time stopping item cards like B-String, or stopping you playing down a skateboard to be able to retreat, or even just something as simple as playing an Ultra Ball to search out some Pokemon. If it actually did lock both players out of item cards and supporter cards, even as a once per game stadium, it would be utterly over the top, beyond broken. It would be redonk, and not a great way. So it is only stopping stadium and supporters against this stadium. We'll get onto that in a moment. First of all, the main effect of this, both players' Lightning Pokemon's attacks cost one less Lightning energy. So it's kind of like Dimension Valley, except so much better, because it reduces the cost by a Lightning rather than a colorless. So if we take something like Zero Aura GX that we looked at the other day, okay, it doesn't really matter with Zero Aura. Oh no, wait, it totally does. Because you do 160 damage, and then you can't attack next turn, but that really doesn't matter. We've seen that on like a million Pokemon. Nobody particularly cares. And then, with this stadium in play, all of a sudden, it's 160. And remember that when you add a choice band, that's 190, and you're getting something like Buzzwole or Ultra Necrozma. Most, to be honest, of the relevant GXs. And with this stadium in play, it's a Lightning colorless energy. So Vikavolt, and I know that Vikavolt's a stage 2, and I'm not a huge fan because it's a little bit slower than I would like, but it's essentially you use Vikavolt and hit 160. Sorry, 190 because you're clearly going to have a choice band. In Vikavolt decks, this becomes an absolute no-brainer. It's crazy over-the-top good. Like, crazy over-the-top good. I am a huge fan of this. 160 for 2 energy here. I'm going to try and show you how good this stadium is, but quite frankly, I've always said that Prism Star cards should be over-the-top good, but 1 per game. Now, imagine this scenario. You're going second. You have a Zero Aura on the bench. So what you decide to do is you attach an energy, and then, oh look, you've drawn a Max Elixir. Hey, you played that Max Elixir and hit a Lightning energy. Now you have 2 energy on Zero Aura. Oh look, you happen to have drawn your stadium. How nice. You're now hitting 160 on your very first turn going second. You shouldn't be able to hit that much damage. Now, to be fair, something like a Lapras can do that, but Lapras has got to either hit 2 Max Elixir, 2 Aqua Patch, or a Max Elixir and an Aqua Patch, which is really awkward. Bearing in mind, Aqua Patch, you've got to have an energy in the discard. And Max Elixir, you've got to hit an energy from the top 6 cards of your deck. Here, and don't get me wrong, right, you can only have one of these Stadium in your deck, so it's not like you're going to hit it turn 1 every single game or anything dumb like that. But there are going to be games where your opponent thinks they can't KO me. And then you drop this Stadium, drop a Max Elixir or something else, and just go nuts. This Stadium plus a Vikavolt, and you're off and rolling straight away. Now, it's not just Zero Aura that can use this, although Zero Aura is the one that immediately springs to mind. How about Raichu GX? Now, Raichu GX here comes along with Thunder, same pretty much exact attack, except you do 30 to yourself rather than not being able to attack. Lightning, colorless, 160 damage. And again, it's only pre-rotation, but maybe you use an Electrode, and then pop this Stadium down, and then all of a sudden it's going in a single turn. And the fact that you are getting rid of a Lightning, not a Colorless, means that stuff like Vikavolt can come out and really, really help you out with this. How about the promo Tapu Koko? Now, generally speaking, the promo Tapu Koko, we play for the first attack Flying Flip, which is very good. But all of a sudden now with this Stadium, Electro Ball turns into Lightning Colorless, so you could use something like a Counter Energy here and be hitting 100 damage for a single energy attachment on a non-GX, which might not sound that impressive, but might I remind you that Ho-Oh is an incredibly good card at the moment. And that means that for a Counter Energy, without a choice band, you don't need one, you're now getting a one-hit KO on a Ho-Oh GX for 2 prizes. This is a nuts good Stadium. It's the first Prism Star Stadium we've ever had, and it really stands up to the billing. Any Lightning deck, or to be honest, any deck that plays Lightning Pokemon, as long as the cost is Lightning Energy, is going to be putting one of these in until it rotates out. Now, if you're playing something like Tapu Koko for Flying Flip, and you're not playing any Lightning Energy, obviously this Stadium becomes completely redundant. But anything like Zero Aura, and even if it's something like a Vikavolt deck where you weren't playing something like Zero Aura, I think you've pretty much got to play it now. Or a Raichu deck is going to play this. One huge side note now, it is only Lightning Pokemon. So something like Rayquaza, annoyingly, or happily, depending on where you come down on this, cannot take advantage of this Stadium. If you look at the wording, there's clearly 2 lightning symbols, one of which is saying reduces cost by 1 lightning energy, and the other one is saying from your lightning Pokemon. And both Antoine and David have the same translation here. That means you can't use it on something like Rayquaza, which would be potentially a little bit broken, because then for just a grass colorless, you'd be doing 30 damage for each grass and lightning energy on your field, but it means when your Rayquaza went down, you'd only be losing 2 energy, not 3, and you'd be able to stash a greater number of energy on your bench and be less vulnerable, etc., etc. It would be even better. Now, quickly back to that thing of it ignores all effects of players' items and supporter cards. It makes it harder to get rid of. It means your opponent wouldn't be able to play something like a Field Blower to get rid of it. It means they couldn't play a Delinquent to discard it, which is actually kind of interesting because Delinquent only forces your opponent to discard 3 cards from their hand if you discard a Stadium, and if that Stadium is this, Delinquent can't force you to discard it, and ergo, Delinquent won't make you discard the cards from your hand. Or even something like Bonnie here, which, you know, just allows you to reuse that GX attack on Zygarde, but only if you discard a Stadium in play, which you wouldn't be able to do. So again, just like with Delinquent, you can't use Bonnie if this is there because you can't discard the Stadium. It doesn't do anything. The card is pointless. Although, if you've got something like a Remoraid, for instance, which discards a Stadium for 1 colorless energy, that absolutely would work. It's items and supporter cards this stops, not attacks. This is everything I want in a Prism Star Stadium card. It's over the top good. It's way better than any Stadium has any right to be, but it's a Prism Star card, so it's 1 per deck. Having said that, any deck that can use it will use it. It's a very, very easy 5 Wasi card. Playing Raichu, this is in your deck. Playing Zero Aura, this goes in your deck. Playing Vikavolt, Tapu Bulu, and teching in any decent lightning Pokemon, this goes in your deck. It's an absolute no-brainer in any deck that can use it, and the only way your opponent can get rid of it is playing their own stadium. Or something like Remaraid's attacks. But realistically speaking, your opponent's got to play their own stadium to get rid of it. And there are a bunch of decks at the moment that don't play stadiums. And if you are lucky enough to come against someone not playing a stadium, you're going to have this down for the whole game. And to be honest, you'll probably win, because for the whole game you need 1 energy fewer than your opponent. That's a little bit unfair. This is a great stadium card, but then again, this is Sun and Moon 7A. This is the Zero Aura set. So why would we not have an amazing Prism Star Stadium that helps out Zero Aura? But I'm done gushing about this card. I would like you to start gushing about this card. Tell me which Pokemon you're going to play it with and all sorts of other fun things down in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all of that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do just that. And do make sure you check out my video game /Dragon Ball Super channel, Wassy Plays, for some more Wassy action. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.